There is something happening on you right now that people cannot stop staring at and cannot fully explain. It is not a new outfit, it is not a new hairstyle, it is not a product or a routine or anything that can be bought or replicated. It is something that is coming from the inside and radiating outward in a way that is turning heads and stopping conversations and making people who have known you for years look at you like they are seeing you for the very first time. What is on you right now is the hand of God, and what He is restoring, what He is renewing, what He is releasing through your very presence is something that the hard seasons were never supposed to take from you permanently. Stay right here, because what God is about to speak over your life is going to change the way you see yourself every single time you look in the mirror from this day forward. I am speaking directly to you right now, the chosen one whose light dimmed during the hard seasons, not because the light was taken from you, but because the weight of what you were carrying pressed down on it in a way that made it difficult to shine at its full capacity. The stress, the grief, the seasons of not enough and trying too hard and giving everything while receiving very little in return. The nights that were too long and the mornings that came too early and the years that moved faster than you were ready for. All of it left marks, not just on the inside where the emotional and spiritual weight lives, but on the outside where the world can see what a person has been through without being told a single word of the story. You saw it too, in the mirror, in photographs, in the reflection of your own eyes that used to carry a particular kind of light and seemed to carry less of it after everything you walked through. And some of you made peace with that change the way people make peace with things they believe are permanent. You told yourself that this is just what life does to a person, that the softness that the hard seasons took, the glow that the grief dimmed, the vitality that the stress consumed, that these things simply do not come back once they go. You stopped expecting them, and in stopping the expectation you stopped opening your hands to receive what God was always prepared to restore. Type Amen if the hard seasons left marks on you that you had begun to accept as permanent. But here is what God wants you to hear today. The scripture says that He renews your youth like the eagle, not that He maintains what remains, not that He slows the loss. He renews, He restores to the original. He brings back what was taken. He reverses what the seasons of pressure took from you in ways that go beyond the natural and into the supernatural, because the God who created your body, who knit you together in your mother's womb, who designed every cell and every system and every feature of the physical vessel you live in, that God has not lost interest in your wholeness. He has not stepped back from the physical dimension of your life and said that part is on its own now. He is actively engaged in the renewal of every part of you, including the parts that the world can see. And what the people around you are beginning to notice is that renewal in action. There is something on you right now that was not there in the hardest moments of your hardest seasons, a light that has come back, a quality in your eyes that speaks of someone who has been through deep waters and emerged with something that depth produces that ease never could. A presence in your physical being that is the outward expression of an inward work of God that has been happening quietly, consistently, beneath the surface of everything visible. And now it is surfacing, now it is showing, and the people around you are speechless because they did not expect this. They expected the trajectory of the hard seasons to continue. They expected less, and what they are seeing is more. Type 111 if you can feel that something is different about you right now, even if you cannot fully name what it is. Let me talk about what true beauty is in the economy of God. Because there is a version of beauty that the world sells and a version that God gives, and they operate on entirely different principles. The version the world sells is primarily external and primarily dependent on factors that the passage of time works against. It is a version that has an expiration date built into it, a version that requires constant maintenance and investment and comparison to a standard that shifts every few years and is always slightly out of reach of the person chasing it. The world's version of beauty is exhausting to maintain and devastating to lose, and it leaves the people who organize their lives around it perpetually insecure because its foundation is inherently unstable. The version that God gives is different in its origin, its expression, and its durability. It originates not in genetics or youth or the symmetry of features, but in the presence of God radiating outward through a life that is yielded to Him. It is expressed not just in what the eyes see, but in what the spirit feels in the presence of someone who carries it. It is the beauty that makes people stop mid-sentence when you walk into a room, not because of the specific features of your face, but because of what your presence carries. A quality of peace, of depth, of light, of something that their spirit recognizes as more than natural, without being able to name exactly what it is. This is the beauty that God is releasing in you in this season. And unlike the world's version, this one does not diminish with time, it actually intensifies, because it is fed by the very things that the world's version of beauty is diminished by. The depth that comes from hard seasons, the wisdom that comes from having been through fire and come out whole, the peace that comes from a settled, proven trust in God, the light that comes from a life that has been broken open enough for the glory of God to shine through the cracks. These things increase with time and with experience, and the chosen one who has been through what you have been through carries a version of this beauty that is becoming more powerful, more visible, more undeniable with every passing year rather than less. Type renewing. If you receive the truth that the beauty God is releasing in you is the kind that gets stronger with time rather than weaker. Now I want to talk about what the speechlessness of the people around you actually means. Because when God's beauty is on a person, the reaction it produces in observers is not simply the aesthetic appreciation that a conventionally attractive appearance might produce. It produces something more specific, more spiritual, something that the people experiencing it cannot always fully explain or articulate. They say things like, "You look so different lately," or "There is something about you that I cannot put my finger on," or "You seem lighter somehow," or "Whatever you are doing, keep doing it." They are trying to describe with natural language something that is fundamentally supernatural. They are reaching for words to name what they are sensing, which is the presence of God expressed through the physical and spiritual vessel of a chosen one who has come through the fire and is now radiating what the fire refined. The speechlessness is not just about your appearance in the narrow sense. It is about your entire presence, the way you carry yourself, the way you enter a room, the way you speak and listen and move through the world. All of it has been altered by what God has been doing in you, and what people are responding to is the totality of that alteration. They are speechless because the gap between the version of you they remember from the hard seasons and the version of you that is showing up right now is larger than they expected and more beautiful than they had words prepared for. Take a moment and like this video because someone needs to hear that what God is doing in them is visible and it is leaving people speechless in the best possible way. Type speechless if you have noticed recently that people are responding to something in your presence that they cannot fully explain. Let me speak to the specific things that God is restoring in this season, because the renewal that He is releasing is not generic, it is targeted. Is specifically addressing the things that the hard season specifically took. The first thing He is restoring is your eyes. Not just the physical appearance of your eyes, though that is included, but the light behind them. There is a specific quality that lives in the eyes of someone who is genuinely hopeful, genuinely at peace, genuinely settled in the knowledge of who they are and who holds them. It is a light that cannot be manufactured with any cosmetic product. It goes out when hope goes out. It dims when faith dims. It is absent in the eyes of someone who has been through loss that they have not yet processed, through disappointment that has hardened into resignation, through seasons so long and so dark that looking ahead stopped feeling like a meaningful activity. You know this light, you have seen it in others, and you knew in the depths of the hard seasons that it had gone quieter in you than it once was. God is relighting it. The hope that is being rebuilt in you in this season, the faith that has been tested and proven and is now operating from a depth that shallow faith never reaches, the peace that is settling in you as the fire season gives way to the return, all of that is coming through in your eyes, and the people who look into your eyes right now are seeing something there that makes them pause. Something alive and clear and certain that speaks without words of a person who has been through the deep and found something on the other side that has transformed them. Type eyes if you receive the restoration of the full light in your eyes in this season. The second thing God is restoring is your posture. Not just physically, though the physical dimension is real, but the way you carry yourself in the world. The chosen one, who has been through sustained pressure, often develops a way of moving through life that is slightly contracted, slightly guarded, slightly braced for the next impact, in a way that shows up in the body as tension in the shoulders, in the jaw, in the way the head is held, in the degree to which the full physical presence is offered to any given space or moment. The body learns the lessons of hard seasons and carries them even when the seasons have changed. And the contraction that was a survival mechanism in the fire becomes a habit that continues into the return, even when the fire is no longer burning. God is releasing that contraction. He is speaking into your body as well as your spirit. He is saying you do not have to be braced anymore. The season that required that level of protection is ending, and as that truth settles from your spirit into your soul, and from your soul into your body, the posture is changing. The shoulders are coming back, the head is lifting. The full physical presence of who you are is beginning to occupy space with a confidence and a ease that is visible to everyone watching. And that change in your physical carrying of yourself is one of the most powerful components of what is leaving people speechless. Type posture. If you receive the release of every physical contraction that the hard seasons installed in your body, and the restoration of the full upright presence that God designed you to carry. The third thing God is restoring is your smile. The specific smile that belongs to someone who is genuinely happy. Not the performed smile that people develop during hard seasons to protect others from the full weight of what is happening inside. Not the social smile that is correct and appropriate, but does not reach the eyes. The real one, the one that comes from a place of actual joy, the one that transforms the entire face and lights up a room and makes the people who receive it feel genuinely seen and genuinely met. That smile went quieter during the hard seasons because genuine joy is difficult to sustain under sustained pressure. And some of you have been so long without the full expression of it that you have forgotten exactly what it feels like to smile from a place of real, unperformed, deeply rooted gladness. God is giving it back. The joy that is returning to your life in this season is not the fragile joy that depends on everything going right. It is the deep joy that the psalmist described as the joy of his salvation. The kind that exists below the surface of circumstances and is therefore not at the mercy of them. And as that joy rises in you, it is going to show on your face in ways that you cannot control and would not want to. Because the smile of a chosen one who has survived the fire and found God faithful on the other side is one of the most powerful witnesses that exists in the natural world. Stay with me in part 2. Because I am going to tell you exactly what this restoration of your youth and your beauty is connected to in the Spirit, what God is about to use your renewed presence to accomplish, how to carry what He has restored with the gratitude and the confidence it deserves, and what the speechlessness of the people around you is actually announcing about the season you are entering. Welcome back, chosen one. If you are in part 2, what God spoke in part 1 has already begun to do something inside you. The recognition that the renewal happening in you is real, that what people are seeing when they are left speechless is the hand of God on your life expressed through your very presence, that the beauty being restored is the kind that time increases rather than diminishes, that truth is settling in a place that needed to receive it. In part 2, I want to take you into the deeper dimensions of what this restoration means, what it is connected to spiritually, what God intends to do through your renewed presence, how to carry what He has restored, and what this season of visible renewal is announcing about what is coming next in your life. Type ready if you are fully open to receive everything God has in this part. Let me start with what the restoration of your youth and your beauty is connected to in the Spirit. Because in God's economy, nothing that happens in the physical is disconnected from what is happening in the Spirit. The body is not a separate category from the Spirit. It is the vessel through which the Spirit expresses itself in the natural world. And when God does a deep work of renewal in a person's spirit, when He rebuilds their hope and restores their joy, and settles His peace in them in a way that was not present before, that interior renewal always has an exterior expression. It cannot be contained to the inside. It presses outward. It radiates through the physical vessel in ways that are visible to the natural eye, even when the source of what is being expressed is entirely supernatural. What this means is that the renewal of your appearance, the glow that people are noticing, the quality in your eyes, the lightness in your posture, the realness of your smile, all of it is the overflow of an interior restoration that God has been doing in you for longer than you may have realized. The outside is simply catching up to what has already happened on the inside. And this sequence, interior first, then exterior, is significant, because it means that what people are seeing when they are speechless is not a surface change. It is not a new chapter of the same story with a nicer cover. It is the evidence of a deep, real, God-worked transformation that has restructured something fundamental in how you exist in the world. Type inside out if you receive the truth that what is visible on the outside is the expression of something God has already completed on the inside. Now let me tell you what God intends to use your renewed presence to accomplish. Because the restoration of a chosen one's beauty and vitality is never just for their own enjoyment. Though enjoying it is completely appropriate, and God is not stingy about that, He genuinely wants you to take pleasure in what He has restored. He genuinely wants you to look in the mirror and feel the joy of seeing someone who looks like they have been touched by the hand of God. He wants that for you. But beyond your personal enjoyment, He has an agenda for what your renewed presence is going to do in the world around you. Your presence is going to open doors that arguments and qualifications cannot open, because there is a level of access that comes simply from the way a person carries themselves when the favor of God is visibly on them. Rooms that would take years of credential building to enter through the conventional pathways are going to open for you through the pathway of presence. People of influence who would normally require a lengthy process of relationship building are going to be drawn to you in ways that bypass the normal sequence, because something in your presence speaks a language that their spirit recognizes even when their mind has not yet caught up to what it is recognizing. This access is strategic. God is not restoring your youth and your beauty simply so you can enjoy feeling attractive. He is restoring it because He is about to place you in spaces where your presence is going to carry His message before you speak a single word, where who you are when you walk in the room is going to prepare the ground for everything that follows, where the favor that is visible on your life is going to make the people in those spaces more receptive to the assignment you carry. Your presence is a tool of His purpose, and He is sharpening that tool in this season for specific and strategic use. Type presence if you receive the truth that God is restoring your visible vitality as a strategic tool for the purpose He is placing you in front of. Let me talk about how to carry what God has restored, because there are two wrong responses to the restoration of beauty and vitality that I want to address so that neither of them becomes a trap for you in this season. The first wrong response is pride, the specific pride that takes the gift and forgets the giver, that looks in the mirror and sees the result without remembering the source, that receives the speechless responses of the people around you and begins to organize your identity around them in a way that makes the external response the foundation of your sense of self. This is a trap, because external responses are inherently unstable. They shift, they change. They are affected by the mood of the observer, the context of the encounter, 1,000 variables that have nothing to do with who you actually are, and an identity built on them will shift and change with them. The right response to the restoration is gratitude that is specific and deep, gratitude that goes back to the source every time you see the result, that looks in the mirror and says, God did this, that receives the speechless response of the people around you, and immediately, internally, returns the glory to the one who produced what they are responding to. This gratitude is not false modesty that deflects compliments or pretends not to notice the gift. It is genuine acknowledgement of the origin that keeps you rooted in the right place, even as the gift becomes increasingly visible. Type grateful, not proud, if you are committing to carrying what God has restored with the deep, specific gratitude that keeps you rooted in the giver rather than the gift. The second wrong response is to use the restoration to re-enter environments and relationships that God moved you out of during the fire season, because there will be temptation to do this. The renewed confidence and vitality that God is giving you is going to make certain situations and certain people feel more manageable than they did during the hard seasons. The spaces that once felt overwhelming may feel more accessible now. The relationships that were draining may feel more bearable now that you are carrying more. And the temptation is to interpret the new capacity as permission to re-engage with what God removed. But capacity is not calling. The fact that you are stronger now does not mean that the things God moved you away from are now your assignment. The renewal is for the new season, not for the return to the old one. The vitality God is restoring is fuel for what is ahead, not energy for what is behind. Guard against the temptation to spend your renewed resources on situations that were already proven to consume them without producing the return that God intends for your investment. The new version of you belongs to the new season. Keep it there. Type forward only if you are committing to using the renewal God has given you exclusively in the direction He is taking you, rather than returning to what He already moved you from. Now I want to talk about the specific people who are going to be reached by your renewed presence. Because God does not restore a chosen one's beauty and vitality in a vacuum. He does it in the context of the people He is placing around them and the assignment He is moving them into. And there are specific kinds of people who are going to be drawn to you in this season in ways that are clearly arranged rather than coincidental. The first group is people who are in the hardest moments of their hard seasons, people whose light has dimmed in the same way yours once dimmed, who are carrying the visible marks of sustained pressure in ways that they have begun to accept as permanent. When these people encounter you, the specific thing they are going to receive from your presence is hope, not from anything you necessarily say, but from the visible evidence that you carry of what God does with a person who has been through what they are going through. You are going to be living proof to them that the dimming is not permanent, that the marks of the fire are not forever, that the God who did what He did in you is the same God who is available to do it in them. Your renewed presence is a testimony that will reach people whose hearts are too heavy to receive it through words alone. Type hope if you receive the truth that your renewed presence is going to be a source of hope for people whose spirits need the evidence of what God can restore. The second group is people of influence who are looking for something genuine in a world full of performances. Because there is a quality to the renewal God produces that is distinct in its authenticity from everything that can be manufactured. The glow that comes from genuine inner transformation is unmistakable to people who have been exposed to enough imitation to know the difference. And people of influence who are perpetually surrounded by performance and strategy and carefully curated presentations are often the most hungry for something real. When they encounter your presence, when they feel in you the quality of someone who has been through something and come out the other side with genuine peace and genuine light and genuine depth, they respond with a draw that goes beyond normal social attraction. They want to be near what you carry. They want to understand it. They want to know the source. And that draw is going to open conversations and connections and opportunities that have a significance beyond what the surface encounter suggests. Type genuine if you receive the truth that the authenticity of what God has done in you is going to draw people of influence who are hungry for something real. Let me speak now about what the speechlessness of the people around you is announcing, because their speechlessness is not just a reaction, it is a signal. When people who know your history, who know what your hard seasons looked like, who know the version of you that existed before the fire, are suddenly unable to find words for what they are seeing, it is because what they are seeing does not fit the trajectory they had plotted for your life. And when reality does not fit the trajectory someone had plotted, it announces that a new trajectory has begun, one that could not have been predicted from the data they had, one that is being driven by a force they cannot account for in their natural calculations.